Welcome back. You're tuned into Bazaar Morning Call. You're on CNBC-TV18. Well, the SGX Nifty was quiet just a short while back. In the last 5 to 8 minutes, it suddenly spiked up. So maybe we are not bracing for a flattish start. Maybe we'll start off in the green. That said, there'll be plenty of stocks that'll be moving around. So let's get chatting with Prakash Diwan, who joins us to help us out with just that. Morning, Prakash. Hope you're having a good Monday morning. Well, Prakash, we just were listening into the management of Ashok Leyland. And they sounded rather optimistic with regard, to demand, with regard to profitability as well. Your view on the stock? They've gained market share as well, big time.
Oh, absolutely. Morning, Nigel. So I don't blame him. The optimism stems from the fact that the numbers are painting a very, very rosy picture in terms of where they're heading. And in fact, just to tell you, the interview with him was a masterclass in commercial vehicle business understanding. So I think he's touched upon a lot of things. Of course, we'll have to wait for the margin expansion that we're talking about into that double-digit territory, and that will put the orbit into put the company into a very different orbit, right? What's interesting is the data that's coming out. Whether it's the industrial production numbers or the inflation numbers, all segments of the economy that are contributing are related to areas where Ashok Leyland would get potential sales. So mining, for example. Or infrastructure or civil construction. These are pockets which need a lot of vehicles which only Ashok Leyland masters in delivering, right? So while the Mahindras and the Tatas have taken a little bit of a softer stance towards their commercial vehicle portfolios and focus more on PVs, Ashok Leyland is a pure CV player, and that's where it's benefiting. The market share could probably strengthen even forward. I think it's a stock that has been in the promising zone since the time it was in that 130, 135 territory and it crossed over. I would believe it would probably continue to do well, and you'll see some more allocations, serious allocations come into the stock. So very, very positive. And then most of the expectation is to have a target of about 177, 180s. That's the zone that I'm reading about. But I would fully concur with the fact that it should look up very positively in the next 6 months itself.
Okay, very positive. In fact, the management body language was also the most positive I've seen in a long time. So I guess that corroborates with your view. Prakash, good morning. What's happening in the pharma space? Across the board, we're seeing very disappointing numbers. I mean, Aurobindo's margins are at a multi-quarter low. Alkem lowered their FY23 margin guidance. What do you do if you own stocks like this?
Good morning, Sonia. So, I think pharma is going through a little bit of a sorting out or a sifting that's underway. Companies that have invested a lot in businesses that could kind of be the revenue streams of the future are the ones that will benefit. So look at Cipla or look at Sun Pharma, and you'll see a very different picture. Even Lupin, for that matter. I mean, the kind of improvement that we've started seeing. So what's going to happen is the big boys are going to get bigger in that sense and get stronger is the word. And Aurobindo has always been very, very volatile in terms of what it can produce, what it can deliver. So I'm not surprised at the erratic nature of their earnings. But yes, it's been disappointing with some of the other names like Shilpa and all. The margin erosion is really significant. So you will see this happen with the companies which have very narrow portfolios. Whereas and today, of course, there's some bad news that even NATCO is going to be looking at. You don't trust these antitrust lawsuits. These are black swan events potentially for a lot of small companies. So that's the whole climate. But you will have to look at some of them which have invested in the past, which have gotten over the bottoming out of the pressures on the US markets, and that's exactly where the pocket of promise lies. So I think if you stick to a Cipla or to even Lupin now, as I'm saying, the improvement is stark. It will probably continue to deliver, and you'll probably have to sort out from the smaller names.
Okay. Prakash, briefly, two areas. One, of course, is 50% of the Nifty's rally on Friday was attributable to HDFC and HDFC Bank. Do you see more there? And the other is IT services, which it continues to do well as the NASDAQ is pulling back nicely. Your view?
Good morning, Prashant. So, I think the HDFC Twins performance on Friday was a celebration of the MSCI announcement in terms of, the relook that MSCI is willing to put in terms of, their inclusion, but I mean, their weightages. But, I told this on Friday as well. There's no point celebrating that because the fundamentals have to take, come center stage. And that's going to happen very soon. But you have to give it some time. The best time to look at these would be on bad days when things look down and they are underperforming, nobody's interested. So that, temporary technical correction or bounce back has already happened. You will get better opportunities to it because fundamentally there's so much promise, provided you're willing to hold on post this entire merger happens. On the Nasdaq related bounce back, Prashant, I don't think we should correlate that to our and extrapolate that to our companies here in India because for us the more critical thing is the services, the expansion of services contract continuation out there, and that's going to be question that will come into a question only post December. So somewhere around Jan is when the time of reckoning will happen for the IT companies. This was more of a feel-good factor that Nasdaq bouncing back. Let's look at our companies as well. But some of them technically and fundamentally probably will offer you much more promise, and then that's in the mid-cap IT space. So that's where a little bit of a bounce back would continue. But I would wait for January to make a serious allocation to that sector in terms of whether it's bottomed out.
Okay, all right, Prakash, request you to stay with us. For the time being, we'll slip into a short break. You come back, we'll continue our chat with Prakash. We'll also be joined by Sudarshan Sukhani and Mitesh Thakkar. They'll be